Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Consider This. I'm Scott Mantz, excited to talk about the brand new film Rental Family, written and directed by Hikari, starring Brendan Fraser. This is a beautiful, exquisite film that's based on an actual business in Japan, in Tokyo, where people go to a rental family and hire people to fill a void in their family. Let's say you are a single mother and you want to hire someone to be a father to your kid. Go to Rental Family and rent a dad for your kid. That's basically how it works. Really incredible film. Again, a beautiful, beautiful movie featuring spectacular performances across the board, especially from Academy Award winner Brendan Fraser. And I'm very, very excited to be joined for this conversation here on Consider This by writer-director Hikari. Hikari, thank you so much for joining me here on Consider This.
Thank you so much for having me, Scott. Such an honor.
Well, I gotta say,
Arigato.
so I saw this movie for the first time, and I
Mm.
remember vividly when you introduced the film. You just bounced onto the stage with so much energy and excitement. You were so excited. But I gotta ask you, like about this real business and what inspired you to make a movie about it.
I think I should start from finding the job, for itself is that, Stephen, I had my co-writer, he was looking for a random job for American to do in Japan. And that's how we discovered about this rental family. Phenomenal. And I'm Japanese and I had exactly same reaction as you. It was like, what is this about? And then as we were digging in, doing a research and why this business exists in Japan, like what kind of people who use this, right? All these W's, we find something much deeper and very more meaningful about us human connection. And that's something that we really wanted to, make it into a story because we're kind of going through the pandemic time where we didn't know what was happening, where we were going for. And it was just like really lots of unknowns. And I think the isolation really took us on a toll. Like we just really wanted to find the connection, right? So that was kind of our beginning journey to see what can we find a story that could resonate to all of us around the world, right? Sort of putting this one character, Brendan's character, into the place that he never expect to be actually living that long. And that was kind of the starting point of that story.
How
Yeah.
did you find, if you will, the character of Philip, and what
Mm.
made Brendan Fraser the perfect Philip, especially following his Oscar-winning role for lead actor in The Whale?
Mm. How do I define? I think the character of Philip is kind of all of us. He's curious. He's not quite sure where to go, or if he's kind of tipping toe around like what is right, right? I think there's a lot of us in. There's a lot about us that in him that exists that I really wanted to see where the audience would be able to put their shoes, put their feet in Philip's shoes and really explore that world. And I think that's something I wanted to really have that audience experience, obviously for obvious reasons. But for Brendan, like I honestly we got really lucky. I feel like I saw him on the whale in the whale, and I thought he was so incredible. I knew he was an incredible actor to begin with, but then the way he was like just vulnerable, he just went all full on for just not be able to be afraid to play anything, whatever emotion he was going through, and then for who he is as a person, during the Q&A, I got to see him and see who he was. And that to me was just everything about Philip. He was just so charming, so kind, and so caring for other people. And, that was the kind of quality that I was looking for in
All right.
Philip.
So Hikari, when Brendan
Mm.
signed on and he was like,
Mm.
he's in it to win it. um,
Yeah.
how did the screenplay further evolve? Like, how did you sort of fit Philip to match Brendan's voice, his range? How did
Mm.
the screenplay evolve when he was cast?
Sure. When the script originally, when we wrote the script, we didn't really think about like any actors. We just kind of wrote it because we wanted the story to be for what it was, right? The message, all of it. And so the story actually was set in the age of somebody who was in the mid 30s to, late 30s. So when we find out that, Brendan was interested in, like, we kind of took it apart and say, okay, does this still work? So there's a little tweaks that we did along the way. But what Brendan brought to the screen when we're shooting is that, like, the movie, what it became is because of Brendan's performance.
Yeah.
If somebody else performed, obviously it's going to be a completely different story, right? Movie type of movie could be drama, could be super dramatic, or super comedy. Whatever that was, he was able to do the really find a middle ground of, through his performance. And I have to say, he every takes is different, right? And that's something that I always love to see. He just gives such a small, very minor nuance, just like, just having a little, eyebrow up to nothing, just kind of looking the face to really just being in the stillness in that moment. So I was able to really play in the editing room to really build who Brandon's character Philip was through the process of editing. So I also really had a great time doing that. So I really appreciate for his putting so much, idea of Philip into the can.
So I got to say, the heart of this film is the
Mm.
relationship between Philip and Mia. And
Mm.
I was completely floored by the young actor
Oh.
who got to play Mia. Can you tell me about the casting process, the audition process before you finally found Shannon Gorman to play Mia?
I mean, honestly, it's so hard to find a case who is a Caucasian and, Asian who speaks Japanese, because I didn't want to limit to just Japanese and, the Caucasian character. So we saw a lot of girls, and then she was somebody who lived like an hour and a half away from Tokyo. This is her first role ever played. She never acted before, and yeah, that was her first time. So she came in, prepared for the role. She understood the line 100%. That was most important part. But then perhaps because she was so nervous, but then she was so honest, and really only notes that I gave her, when we start working on was to really listen to Philip, what he's saying, Brendan, how he's delivering. You just have to react to it. And she really took that note, and she went with it. And sometimes when she has to get a scream and all that stuff, and she never really screamed before, so it was really hard. So I would have to be like, I'm so sorry, I'm yelling at you, but don't hate me for this. Let's go, you can go even further, let's go, you got this. And but she really went for it. She dived in, and she was so excited to be on set, nervous at times, but she really enjoyed it, and we were so happy to have her too. So it was every time when she walks in and Brendan together, we just lit up the set, and we're like ready to shoot.
Hikari, I mean, their chemistry is just absolutely breathtaking.
I
So
know.
good. Yeah, they're so good together.
Mm.
But when
I
I saw the
know.
film for a second time, I was really able to take in there's a lot going on in the film because obviously you got
Yeah.
this relationship between Philip and Mia, but then you've got
Hmm.
the backstories of the
Mm.
employees who work for the rental family. So
Right.
I'd love to hear about casting, Mari and Takahiro and
Hmm.
developing their backstories because I really think that just makes the film stronger.
Right. We just came up with, I think when we start writing the character, we already had some ideas, but we really went in depth of their backstories, like where I come from, what she did before, what kind of family she was raised in, and what kind of job she did even as a, rental family worker. And I think all these little details that we were able to provide to Aiko, Mari Yamamoto and Takehiro Hira, really helped them to build the character. And then also for me, they individual character represent kind of in a way the Japanese society and the people who lives in. And then also perhaps for Aiko's character is maybe not just Japanese, but really I wanted to give a voice to the people who perhaps going through the same experience as Aiko has gone through perhaps, and just really don't be afraid to speak up what you need, right? Don't be afraid to say what your needs are, and when it's enough you have to say enough, those are the things that I really want people to take away when they watch it. Hopefully, it will inspire people to see, oh, wow, I shouldn't be doing what she's doing. So let's take a look at my life and then see how that, reflecting right now and then see how I'm feeling. Um, and because by doing so, by you being honest to yourself and respecting yourself, and being standing up for yourself, that's going to open up a different door, which, Takehiro's character also learns. So it's just kind of like a domino effect in a beautiful way. I really hope that something like that would inspire some other people. But I'm not going to expect anything. If you feel it, great. If not, it is what it's the movie's going to resonate the way exactly however you're watching in that moment. So I just hope everybody will enjoy it for what it is. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking back, of course, to the movie Lost in Translation, came out in 2000.
Mm,
That was a
I know.
film that also came
Long time ago, isn't it?
that crazy, 22
Yeah,
ago. That's
22 years ago.
But that was really the last time I saw a film that really, like, I just feel it cast a spell that really, like, I felt immersed in Tokyo, in the culture. But
Mm,
the difference between that film and yours is Lost in Translation was primarily confined to like one area, one location, where yours,
mm,
like, it's Tokyo. It is like
mm.
all over, and you filmed all over. What were the directing and producing challenges to go
Mm,
all over and film in such a busy, lively city like Tokyo?
mm. Tokyo is, as you say, it's big, but it's also tiny. Streets are smaller. The control of the traffic, all that stuff is very different than America. So it's it's a bit more challenging to navigate from location A to location B. So changing the location in one day is almost impossible, but we had to do a lot of those. And so that was also a challenge itself. But I think I really want the audience to really know and I guess, again, experience being in Philip's character and see the Tokyo that people don't know about, right? There's a Shibuya shot, there's a we shot in Shinjuku, but majority of scenes are shot outside of those, like metropolis, like very busy places. So I kind of wanted to, show the Japan, Tokyo, also as a part of a character,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. And individual shots in the B rolls, even if you look at one shot, there's millions of people living in that one shot, but all you see is building. But that life is happening, the energy is moving, us in that big city like that. That was something that I kind of wanted to share. Yes, I guess subconsciously, and hopefully, audience will experience that Tokyo for visually. Yeah, and then the countryside is it's beautiful. Japan is a tiny town. It's as big as California and half of Oregon, but one third of the population lives in Japan. So I think that I hope the audience will get to experience the bits of Japan here and there throughout the movie.
Incredible. I mean, Hikari, like, I know whenever a movie films in a city, especially New York or LA, they always say, oh, New York or LA, they're like a character in the film. But with
Mm,
Rental Family, absolutely, Tokyo, Japan, it really is a character in the film. But because
mm,
it is such a big small town, if you will, and because the
mm-hmm.
streets are smaller, like, how difficult was it to film on the streets, especially with people might not even know that there was a film going on? Like, did that create the challenges for you?
Yeah. I think one of the things that is very challenging all in Japan in general is that anybody could be canceled in any moment. Like we'd be shooting, and if the one neighbor said, "Oh, I didn't know you're shooting. I don't want you to shoot," we have to stop the production. And we had a lot of apartments location too. And what happened is that all the production guys have to knock on every single door in the neighborhood to say, "We're shooting. Are you okay with it?" And you have to get a signature, say, "Yes, we are okay." And then we were able to find a location and shoot at that location. So we always had like 4 or 5 backups just in case, right? And then also like I had this like one shrine scene where I was planning on using the dolly and, a little bit of a crane and whatnot. And then we got the location. They said you can't use it because the neighbor don't like to use it. Like we need a space for it. So we're like, oh my goodness,
But you have
you have to
backup.
be, yeah, we have to back up, or we have to, I have to figure out in that moment, like, okay, so what do I need to do here? Like, what kind of camera, shot do I need to do it? And we just kind of just scratch everything we've been preparing for, but then let's just, go with the idea I have. Like, are you ready for it? And I better have to be okay with it. So those are the challenges that you kind of have to face shooting in Japan.
Yeah,
But
I just couldn't imagine having,
oh
I did a Q&A here in Los Angeles with your producers, and they said, yeah, there were
my goodness.
had to, we had to pivot, because we weren't
Yeah.
allowed to shoot. And he's like, yeah, it was really hard to make this movie, but you wouldn't know it because the movie just came out so great. And
Thank you.
the film Hikari, and this doesn't spoil anything for people who haven't seen it, but
Yeah.
scene between Philip and Mia when Mia says, "Adults always lie."
Bye.
Oh my gosh, broke my heart. Uh, can you tell me just about the filming of that scene and how many takes you did, that kind of thing?
Sure. So Mia's character is kind of based on my own experience, right? I think my mom used to lie to me all the time, but behind the lies, there's always love. And that's something that I wanted to include in the story. And so shooting that scene was actually quite emotional for me because Philip really has to come clean, right, to this girl who's 8 years old
Yeah.
and say we lied because we care for we lied because we want to protect the people we love, and then that's the truth. And but he should never lied, and he admit that. But I think for me, even as a kid, I always was like, I get upset, but then I forget. Like I don't, I think kids are a little bit more flexible in that way. At least it was for me. So she just kind of like, okay, well, if you apologize to me, then I'll forgive you. And then but that forgiveness, that lightness, the honest as being a child is also important. We forget as an adult. That's also something that I want. I hope the people will remember. It's like, oh yeah, like why are we staying in this? If somebody said like to you, it's like, oh yeah, sorry, okay, that was past. Let's move on. That kind of I don't know, energy or the way the kid is. We will have to also remember what is it like to be a kid.
Oh,
So
sure.
hopefully Mia's character will remind us all that.
How many shooting days did you have on Rental Family, and when did you make the movie?
Sure. We had it for about 53 days was the scheduled, and but we lost 3 days from the rain, the cherry blossom didn't bloom, like all of it. So we start shooting. I believe it was like a mid-March and ended on end of May. So 2.5 months last year.
Last year. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it took a little bit longer. And then we had an editing process. We did the sound, the compose, all of it. It took a little bit longer, but Searchlight Pictures, the family over there was, kind enough to really let us take time to work on it. And so, yeah, it was all a great experience, and I'm so grateful for that.
What was the biggest takeaway for you as a director making Rental Family?
Mm, wow. Man, biggest takeaway. I loved working with Brendan Fraser and then also all the great cast. It was really having focusing on one character, two characters, obviously, that's also great. But then having really one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, you know, characters as ensemble piece was the biggest challenge for me because I never done that before. My first movie was, the girl who's the lead girl and the mom and a couple other characters. But this one, it felt much bigger than I've ever done anything before. So it was a great, great challenge and great lessons. And then takeaway, I want to do it again. So
That's a good thing. Good thing.
thank you.
Last question for you, Hikari,
Sure.
is when I mentioned at the top of the conversation the premieres in
Mm,
Toronto and at the AFI Film Festival here in LA.
mm,
The movie's been screening now. It opens November 21st in the US, which I'm just going to say It's my birthday. Could not imagine a
Oh,
birthday present for a rental
happy
family
birthday!
come out
What?
and be seen by everybody. But so, since the movie has been screening, what are some of the reactions that you've been getting? Whether it's at an after party, people come up to you and say something about the
Mhm.
film, or during these conversations with journalists, like what are some of the reactions that meant the most to you?
Mm. Wow. Every single person I spoke to, they all react differently. The moments that I don't expect people to have such a emotional reaction, that like if you talk to 10 people, 10 people come up to me and say, I was so moved here. I was so moved here. So for me, the biggest one that I would say, the ending. When the people say I got the ending, I really, that moment resonated with me. When they said that, I that fulfilled my heart, because that was the very beginning of the moment that when I start writing the story, that was the very first thing I thought about. This is the theme, right? And this is the moment that I hope audience will take away, is that we're all here, we're the divine being. So that makes me really happy to hear that. But honestly, like anything, whatever people take away, and then whatever they said, those are parts moved, because we all come from a different background and the experience is so different. So, but it makes me really happy that everybody's, the stories resonating, everybody from around the world, really, in such a different parts and different way. And so, yeah, I'm so sorry I keep saying I'm happy, but I really am truly, I'm very overwhelmed, and grateful.
Well, we
Yeah.
are all grateful that you made Rental Family and that you're getting such incredible
Thank
reactions.
you.
Kari, I cannot
Arigato.
thank you so, so much for joining me here on Consider This. Best of luck to you, and we will see you next
Thank you.
time. Everyone watching, make sure you head out to theaters to see Rental Family in theaters. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Scott Mantz. Be sure to share, Consider This, especially this episode on Rental Family, on your social media platforms. Thank you,
Yes.
and until next time, here's looking at you, kid.
Thank you. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much, Hikari.